one of the tendencies of all my films is to start in one place and end in a different place, and I feel that this is I was privileged to be able to make films like this. I don't know if it's the production mode or other facets of the filmmaking, but I think it's wonderful and it's exciting. And this film started with the idea of staging a Jewish refugee story with African asylum seekers, and trying to allow Israelis to see their own reflection, their own Jewish refugee reflection in the new refugees. And of course, this is the film is not like this. If you know it in advance, you may see some echo of this idea in the film. And of course, the decision to collaborate with Chen Alon has taken the film to a very different direction. Theater of the oppressed. It's not about the story that you bring or that you want to depict. It's about their story, and it's about reliving experiences. But going to Cholot, you know, some people ask me, how did you cast the people that are in the film? We didn't cast them, they casted us. They auditioned us. And those who didn't like the idea or didn't connect or didn't enjoy disappeared, they left us. And of course, for good reasons, all of them. There's no, it was about trying to do something that we didn't know what, how will develop. And indeed, in the first few months, it was a complete disaster. People who left with euphoria, they left a session with euphoria, and you were sure that you will see them again, didn't show up the following week. You ask yourself, how come? We were fighting to make it possible. And fighting is maybe not a good word, although we were fighting, because we didn't do, it was not an active fighting. It was persisting fighting. The fact that we appeared every week was fighting, was not saying, okay, we've given up on this idea. Chen has a lot of experience in doing this kind of theater workshop and working with he worked a lot with prisoners, for instance, so he knows also the some of the tendencies of people who are detained, etc. But this was very special. Also, the question of language, of tradition, of culture. There was for a long time a question, mainly from me, whether we are not imposing a concept that they didn't share, a cultural concept. Because you know, we are in the culture of sharing what we eat on Facebook. Whereas I don't know if there how much theater and personal theater is in their life, and there was always the worry that we come with an idea and they have to take it. And which was something that we didn't want to happen, of course. And I hope that eventually we overcome this problematics. So there was a lot of uncertainties. in this project, until a certain point where the participants of the workshop, the group stabilized, and the participants started to take what Chen calls ownership on the project. And this is the scene in the film with the colonel and the person who deserts the army because he doesn't want to become a slave of the dictator. And there the scene is mostly staged in Tigrinya, which we don't, of course, speak. We knew the story, but we didn't know what they were talking. We didn't understand what they were saying. And they developed from a story of one person of ours to a more generic story of how it works, or what should be told. It's not just the story of this person who deserts, but how do you create the drama so that the viewers will understand the story. And this was a moment where we understood that something we have crossed to a certain a different stage in the process. And then it was also the moment that we could suggest to other Israelis to join us and work together, because we had established a group. And one of the, in retrospect, of course, it was a fantastic year and almost a half, because now we have a great film, we have a great theater show that still continues. We have a new video of the singing of the same group that is going to be released soon. So we have products of success. But during in the middle of those 1 year and some few months, it was very scary, because it seemed like we were. I don't want to sound too pathetic, but we were a little bit like refugees, floating in the air. But I mean, don't take it too seriously. This metaphor is the situation of the refugees is a bit different. The workshop is about beside learning theater techniques and different aspects of expression. It's about telling your story. It's not. It happens very naturally. It's not that there are assignments that make you tell your story. It's not about. It's much more sophisticated and smart than that. It's about creating the atmosphere for, and also the people that participated, people in such a condition have a need, by the way, to tell the story. For instance, in the first scene when they stand on the chairs, it was about physical attention. This was an assignment of physical attention, attracting all the physical attention that you can but they started to talk about dictatorship. So for them it was about power and not just about physical presence. And there was always, and when the Israeli participants joined, from time to time they also contributed their own family stories, and some of them fit the theme, if you want to, in a cynical way. their families had some, and there was all the time, I think, between me and Chen, this question whether I will also contribute my story or not, or my family story. And somehow I could not do it. I felt it, every time it was in the air, and eventually I didn't do it. And I think that I felt that this would be too egocentric. It was not even my experience. It was my mother as a child, but actually my grandmother's experience. And all my life I knew this story, and I never really stepped into her shoes. And I felt that that although this story was an important story in initiating this project, because I started to think about it, but I didn't really internalize it, and I felt that I would play a role if I you know, and you could see how it was this an American film. You could see how we could smear it all over the audience, and everybody would be. I couldn't do it. And I'm not sad at all. I don't miss my grandmother's story, and for me, definitely, I've done a lot of internal work about this story in the process, but it didn't necessarily had to be there. The question of power. You know, sometimes when you Bibi, you know Bibi? Netanyahu. It's a fantastic story. You know, there is now a big debate in Israel about evacuating one settlement from a stolen land. And whether you like those people or not, and you think that they are robbers, violent robbers or not, they have been living there for more than 20 years, and some kids don't know any other place, etc. And Bibi, in one of the midnight sessions of how to solve this problem, said to their representatives, "I know how it is to be kicked out of your home. In '99, when I lost the elections to Barak, I had to leave my official mansion in no time. They just kicked me out." Come on. So if you wish, I didn't want to be the Bibi of the moment. One Being is films, I think, are very different from my films. In his method is very different, but I love One Being films, and there's something about the energy that comes from behind the camera that, unlike my films, you never see One Being in his film. The most you can see is his feet in traces. Racine. How is the film where he shoots
yes.
In the desert?
Traces.
The most is that you see his feet. You don't see him. You don't really hear him reacting to the situation. In the interview film, you hear his voice from time to time, but his energy is, I completely identify with his energy, and sometimes I also envy him for the totalness of his filmmaking, the totality of his filmmaking, the fact that he goes somewhere and there's nothing else but this story. So he's an amazing filmmaker. I can't. It's not fair for me to respond on this last film because I didn't really see it in full. I saw half of it. I came in the middle and saw only half. And you were supposed to send me a link with English subtitles, no?